So my name is Nita Sims. I graduated from the somatic psychology program in December of 2019, and I'm currently working at Grateful Heart Holistic Therapy Center. I'm seeing clients in private practice there under both my MFT and LPCC associate numbers. I work for Grateful Heart 3 days out of the week. The other 2 days out of the week, I am actually still working for the somatics program at CIIS. I'm like a lot of clinicians who do private practice kind of part time while doing other jobs, holding other positions. So I'm with Grateful Heart on, like I said, 3 days out of the week. And then sometimes I'll do some extra training days with them. It includes, I'm currently seeing 11 clients. I'm looking to raise that number a little bit in the spring. And I am in group supervision at Grateful Heart as well. So I spend a couple hours out of the week in a group um, with the clinical director there. And like I said, I also do, sometimes they offer some amazing trainings on the weekends. So sometimes I'll spend time working in that way. I was, uh, because I graduated in December of 2019, I was heavily influenced by the global pandemic. And that led me to stay actually for some additional time at the clinic at the Center for Somatic Psychotherapy. So I was meant to be leaving in May of 2020. And when the pandemic hit, I ended up staying there longer and then going from there directly to Grateful Heart. The influence was actually partly CSP. CSP has a number of clinicians that go on to Grateful Heart and that have a lot of success and really enjoy their time there. And I think there's a very similar model in the way that each of the clinics are run. So they're community based kind of take what you need and kind of leave the rest behind model was very helpful and flexible in graduating and kind of not knowing exactly what I wanted to be doing and still holding another position. So yeah, my decision to go to Grateful Heart was influenced by some of the community that was already at CSP that was going there, and then some of the folks that had been, already at Grateful Heart and very happy and successful there. Like I said, I'm pursuing dual licensure currently, so I have two associate numbers. And as some folks know, with the LPCC, the hours get wiped at graduation. So I'm at about 2,000 hours with my MFT associate number, and somewhere behind that for the LPCC. What I am currently working toward and um, thinking about how to make work in my practice is my or are my couples, families, and children hours for my MFT license. I also need to potentially consider the community mental health and hospital hours for the LPCC, although I have heard that there may be potentially a chance of that requirement changing. So I'm really trying to cater my practice in the next year or so toward those couples, family, and children hours so that I can be ready to take the test when I get to 3,000 or about there. Well, I kind of almost want to work backwards because time in practicum was really helpful to that bridging and transition. I think it's one thing to be learning theory. I think it's another to be leading experientials and doing practice sessions. And I think those are growing capacity in a certain way. But I do think that the practicum site and time in practicum really made a huge leap in my understanding of what I had been learning, and being a somatics like a somi somatic oriented person, I really like to have the embodied kind of understanding of what I'm doing. And so I think that there's an invaluable part of being in practicum that just lets all of that that you've been learning settle kind of into a physical routine to actually seeing clients that are not peers or colleagues. So that was huge. My time during the program prepared me, I think, like I said, in terms of capacity. You build a different capacity being a graduate student, and I think that capacity is a huge part of the work of being a therapist. And so at every stage, first year, second year, third year, practicum, whatever um, next level you're getting to, you're gaining capacity, whether it's capacity for paperwork and documentation, for being with frustration, organization, communication. I did not mean to rhyme all those, but really those types of things that are like things that different people have strengths in different areas. And I think being in a program, a master's program geared toward a therapy license helps people to really be kind of learning with others, really learning with others. I think it's a huge part of becoming a therapist is learning how to have layers of support and learning how to support yourself and learning where the line is. And so I think that gaining capacity at each of those stages is really helpful for me right now in my stage of my career. I mean, the easy or simple answer would be the global pandemic, but there are so many layers to that. I mean, one of those for me is that I spent 3 years learning about somatics, bodies, body language, and interpretation of the entire body, looking at a full body, and then the world went into these tiny little boxes like we're in now. And while we still have bodies in these places, it was a huge transition to move into this realm. I would also say working from home. Working from home is a really specific. It's a container that, while there's a certain boundary to it, you're inviting clients, you're inviting colleagues, you're inviting supervisors into your home, and that can change the work in some ways. Um, as well as, like I just named, I'm really into using layers of support and people kind of around. And while we're still in contact in this virtual way, and I've still found plenty of ways to use and be in contact with colleagues and friends and classmates for support, there's something different, I think, than it was before, with not being able to be in person with folks in that way, doing supervision and consultations in a way that you can kind of be in the same room feeling the same kind of energy. So those are some of the things that have been pretty hard. And to translate that kind of toward the path to licensure, the pandemic has made it hard, like I named in those specialized hours that we need to get. I was considering for quite some time potentially getting a position in a school with children until the pandemic happened. Same thing with some of the hours for the hospital or community mental health setting. So I'm just starting to get around to thinking about those specialized hours now. And I think I might have been working on those a little bit sooner. Everything was delayed a little bit as well. Like I said, I stayed at the practicum site a little longer. I started at the new position at Grateful Heart a little bit later. And so from there, forward, everything's just taking a little bit longer. And I think it's really nice to be able to lean into the full 6 years. I don't know that I will take the full 6 years past graduation to accrue my hours, but I remember different points in the program not understanding why 6 years. What could take 6 years? Could it really take 6 years? Like, what is the average time that it takes? And it's like there's actually no average. I think everybody does it at their own pace depending on life circumstances. So I've been really grateful for the 6 years. I think that there is something really important in kind of following your own pace. And it's slightly related to what I just named, and maybe slightly related to some other things. I personally made a lot of use out of keeping in touch with the people that I got close to during the program. And I know for different people, that's a different number of folks. It might be 10, it might be two, it might just be one. Um, but there's a way that like following your own pace can help with the timing. It can help with what path you choose, what setting you want to be in. Um, I'm finding a lot of people right now changing paths because of the pandemic, because of listening to their own pace. So I think there's a number of layers that can touch into, and I'm probably missing plenty of them right now. But like working and using your own pace as kind of the guide, because like I said, there isn't a single way to get from graduation to the end goal. So for some people that might be licensure, for some people that might not be. So there are, there are, I think, a lot of important reasons for finding your own pace and figuring out how to navigate post graduation at your kind of rhythm. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There really are different levels of gaining capacity, and there are points where that happens, and sometimes you notice it and sometimes you don't notice it. And so I think that's also maybe something to consider, taking time to look back, um, to see where you started and what has changed and what stayed the same. Your greatest tool in your work is yourself. So it's kind of another nod at finding what works for you, and looking at what's been a part of you along the way and what's maybe shifted along the way. But I feel like there's just I don't know, there's something really important about grounding in yourself, sticking with um, doing things the way that it works for you, because you're going to be more successful in that way. And so if that means doing things really quickly, getting them marked off and getting them done, great. And if that means slowing things down and maybe, taking time off after graduation before continuing work or whatever it might be, like, I think it's going to be your greatest tool to figure out how to make this work, whatever it is, whatever it ends up being, sustainable, by listening to what you need in order for that to be possible.